Hello and welcome to another of our FME educational webinars. In this session, we're going to pick up our annual theme of taking a look at the latest version of FME. Our focus is going to be on FME 2022, and we're going to take a look at what we think at least might be 5 hot features you might have missed. We're going to look around the detail that's already been released in some of Safe Software's recent webinars, or in the first few online FME World Tour presentations that have been delivered online over the last couple of weeks. So my name's David Eagle and I'm the FME Division Manager at One Spatial. I'm also joined in today's session by my colleague Rebecca Meager, who's available throughout the session and will be monitoring the chat function. If you've got any questions you'd like to send our way, please do so. As usual, we'll do our best to deal with anything that you might ask during the session, but if we can't deal with it quickly, we'll follow up with you straight afterwards if you leave us some of your contact details. Okay, so if it's your first time with us, we're One Spatial, and our focus as a business is to help you unlock the value of your data. We want to live in a smarter world, and we think that making your data smarter and of a greater quality is just one way that we can help you all to do it. We're a software development company in our own right, and we've been building software for 50 years to help manage our customers' data quality. But we recognize that there's quite a few really good companies out there in our space that offer really good value in what they do, and it can complement our expertise. And over the years, we've selected a number of firms to work with closely. And the partnership that I'm going to be focusing on today is our Platinum partnership with Safe Software. Now, they're the makers of the FME platform, and Safe are based in Vancouver in Canada, and we're an FME reseller and partner of theirs. As a business, we focus our attention on 3 core vertical markets, so that tends to be government, utilities and transportation, and we've got dedicated solutions in each of them. But we find that because FME enables data connectivity to all sorts of locations, databases and APIs, that almost any sector that finds it necessary to move or manipulate their data can get really good value from FME. And the logos here that you can see on the slide are just some of the companies that are using the power of FME to assist them. In the FME division, we've got a dedicated team of FME specialists, and we've helped organizations to understand if FME is the right tool for them and help solve their data problems. Once we've done that, we can supply it to you. We can look at training so that you can use FME in the best way. And we can also partner with you on your project to help you get up and running more quickly. And once you're underway, we'll keep you going with a technical support agreement that helps your users access the day-to-day support that they need to stay productive. As a team, we focus our attention on all of Safe Software's FME platform, and that includes FME Desktop, FME Server, and FME Cloud. Now, getting into the detail, if you haven't already realized it, FME 2022 is just around the corner. And if you're on a current annual maintenance and support package or an active FME subscription, you can fill your boots with the latest FME version, FME 2022. At the moment, the 2022 beta installers are pretty easy to get hold of. They're over on safe.com, or if you can't wait a little bit longer, then you can get those downloaded and have a look at the new capabilities. But the real thing's really very close, and we're expecting to see the formal release in the coming weeks. The webinar, though, is really just a little bit of a taster session to warm you up also for some events that we've got coming up in May. So that's the FME World Tour. This series of events happens each year, and they're user events that are run both online and in person all over the world, so that people can attend the sessions on a day or in a time zone or at a venue to suit them. After more than 2 years trapped, frankly, behind tools like Microsoft Teams and Zoom, my colleagues and I are super desperate, really, to get out of our home offices and come and meet FME users that we've missed talking to, and we'll get to meet you in full 3 dimensions, which is a benefit really over and above the 2D approach that we've been doing in recent months and years. So we'll be in London, Cardiff, Leeds, and Glasgow in that order in May, and we'll be giving you updates on the new release, but also the part of the events that we really look forward to the most is getting to hear from some of our amazing speakers who've been solving their data problems in innovative ways with FME. Oh, and we've also got free stuff that we give away. So we know that people enjoy a freebie. So come along and see what good stuff we've got this year. If you go to onespatial.com/FME World Tour 2022, you'll be able to register to attend and receive updates on the events. And come and join us for some fun sessions. Anyway, you can see that there's also a link here for SAFE's FME 2022 new features page. That allows you to link directly off the safe.com webpage. And the page covers a few of the main headline features of the new release. But this session is designed to dig a little bit deeper under the covers and eke out a detail or two that hasn't appeared quite so much in the headlines, or that's flown a little bit under the radar. We run these sessions each year, and you can go back in time to watch the recordings on our webinar on demand page, and I'll reference that at the end of today's session. So, since in these sessions we tend to focus more on FME Desktop because that's the tool that most of you are familiar with, you'll notice that there are certainly some headlines this year to grab your attention. But like I said, I'm not going to dig into these because there's plenty of material out there already. But I will quickly just pick out 2 as potentially life-changing when it comes to FME Workbench and your construction of FME workspaces. On the left here, you'll see this little animated GIF, and you can see that it's showing you the visual workspace compare and merge functionality. Effectively a workspace diffing or differencing tool to help you spot what's been added or deleted or changed between 2 workspaces. It's a bit of a big deal, really. If you've ever tried to collaborate on a process with a colleague and then you've both gone in different artistic directions, or maybe you've made some changes to a workspace and it's stopped giving you the expected result. By diffing the 2 workspaces, you'll be able to spot the difference more easily, things that have been added, things that have changed, things that have been deleted, and you'll be able to more quickly debug your issue. And then over on the right, you can see there's the swanky new log file interface. Now, when I'm training people, I always joke that everyone loves the log file, when I really know that not many people really love the log file, because it can be perceived as the boring part of FME, but you really should have a look at the log file in a bit more detail, because learning how to understand what it's telling you means that you'll have a much better level of insight into what's actually happening in your process. Anyway, the main event with the log file in 2022 is that it's now directly linked to the canvas, in that there are now clickable links in the log file that would take you right to the tool, to the transformer specifically, that's throwing the log message. And like I said, that's a bit of a big deal, because it's going to be ever so slightly quicker to be able to review workspace performance, for example, and try to pin down exactly which part of a process is causing perhaps a performance bottleneck that you're receiving, or maybe there's an odd message that's popping up. Now you can click on the link to the transformer that is actually sending that message to the log, so that you can dig into it in a little bit more detail. Anyway, that's enough for the headlines. This session's about thousands of smaller but not necessarily less important changes that have happened in FME Desktop in the last year. But how do we know what's changed in the detail? Well, SAFE tell us. Every small change appears in a changelog that you can browse for each release, and it helps you to see in the new feature, see if the new feature that you care about or you've asked for or has arrived, or if the fix that you need has been applied yet. If you go to safe.com/downloads, on that page, you'll find all the latest and some also historic installers, and that's also where you'll find the beta installers. And you'll see that with every release, there's a small link to a changelog file. Okay, and that's highlighted here with the red squiggle. If you click it, you'll find that every little detail is included, and it's useful to search it to see what pops up for specific keywords. I'm going to give that a little go now. So I'm just going to link out to a URL, and I'm just going to drag that in here. And you can see here that I'm on the downloads page, and I'm just going to click through onto the beta page and go to click on the changelog here for FME, and you can see that if I do let's make that a little bit bigger for a start, but if I do a Control F to search, and I'm going to go and look for performance. Always helps when you can spell. There we go. And you can see down the right hand side, it shows you all the locations where the word performance appears. There's a lot of performance changes that have gone on here. So you can see there are 56 references to performance in the changelog. So that gives us a hint really as to some of the new capabilities. So what do we think is hot in FME 2022 from the changelogs? Well, the new splash screen also gives you a bit of a hint, and that's partly why I just did that search. Fast cars and speedy racetracks are a clue that the underlying performance of FME never really takes a back seat. Our data tends not to get any smaller or less complex for that matter. And that means that to get the same experience using FME, SAFE's developers have to keep working hard to continue pushing increasing volumes of data through FME and out the other side more quickly. This release includes a lot of that work, and much like the theme in FME 2009, where we saw the vehicle speedo highlighting some serious process performance boosts, you're likely to see that the FME Lizard and the Zipster characters are going to be wearing all sorts of racetrack inspired clothing to emphasize another big push on performance in the FME World Tour this year as well. So let's get into the 5 features that I'd like to unpack for you. The first thing I'm going to start with is very traditional fare really for FME, a brand new format. Many of you know that pretty much the primary capability that matters to people that use FME, and it's often the thing that moves people to buy FME in the first place, is its unrivaled format support for things like the containers that store your data. As we know, the IT environment just doesn't stop evolving, and generally when a new hardware device arrives on the market or a new software vendor builds a tool or upgrades an old one, chances are that out will pop a new format or data standard that we haven't seen before. That means that it's probably quite likely appearing in an FME workspace near you soon. One such format you might have come across of late is HEIF, H-E-I-F. Or to give it its full name, that stands for High Efficiency Image Format. It's a container file format that supports multimedia-like images, image sequences, derived images, and EXIF metadata, EXIF. It's also commonly associated with its variant known as HEIC, H-E-I-C, and that's a default image format for Apple ISO iOS 11, and it was adopted by Apple in 2017. In FME 2022, we now have the ability to read these HEIF files. And it's interesting, compared to JPEG images, HEIF images require considerably less storage space, and that doesn't sacrifice image quality. As you can see from the couple of examples here, and if an iPhone user shares an image with a non-iPhone user or adds it to a social site, the HEIF image is often converted to a JPEG image to help with interoperability. Something that us FME users know quite a bit about, interoperability. But what if you have an iPhone user who went out to do a site visit, took lots of photos and uploaded them to a Windows server in their native format, but your target system doesn't yet support HEIF? And that can happen especially if an iPhone user doesn't realize that they're not storing the data as JPEG when they take a photo, if they've come from, say, an Android device perhaps. And that can be compounded by the fact that Windows 10 devices need an extension installed to view the image. Well, now we've got the ability to run them through FME and convert them to your preferred image format, whether that's JPEG or TIFF, PNG or GIF. You can get the data to a format that better suits your needs. And there's some interesting articles out there. If you want to find out a bit more about, say, the difference between JPEG and HEIF, for example, Adobe have got some really good format comparison articles. If you just search the web for, say, HEIF versus JPEG, the Adobe articles are almost the first hits in your search results. Now, the next hot feature isn't earth-shattering in complexity, but it's often the simple and helpful smaller usability features that offer really good value. On the left here, you can see we've got the view drop-down menu that's available in Workbench, and on the right, the equivalent for the FME Data Inspector. Now, what I'm going to do is just launch Workbench and show you what the new Reset Window Layout toggle does. But first, I want you to picture the scene. You remote onto a shared machine where your FME license is connected to your floating license server, and someone's been tinkering with the window layout, or perhaps you've undocked a window and for the life of you, you can't work out where it's gone because you've got multiple screens set up. Now we've got a button to return you to normality, or at least allow you to quickly get back to what you knew previously. So this is the FME 2022 interface. You can see that we've got our usual start page that's been revamped for the new version a little bit. You can also see that we've got our standard canvas view. And generally, when I'm personally using FME, I tend to have the transformer gallery and the navigator window over on the left-hand side, help window, visual preview, and translation log down at the bottom here. And you can move windows around and undock them, and as I say, you can move that off screen and put it onto another screen if you want to. But if you go and have a look at the window drop-down menus, sorry, the view drop-down menu, and go to Windows, you can see that now we've got an option to reset your window layout. So if we push that, it says, are you sure you want to restore to the default window layout? If I say yes, it goes back to the default set of windows that we've got, and then you can have a sort of a maneuver of the window layout and set it up how you want it to be. So I just wanted to show you that. So it's under the view drop-down menu and Windows and reset window layout. As I say, very small feature, but really super handy, especially on machines where you're making lots of changes to the setup. So I'm going to dip across to the next hot feature that I've selected. This isn't a usability or a functionality feature, but it is hot because it's something you certainly need to be aware of. And it's especially important for those of you running slightly older IT environments or what could be described as legacy systems. And also, in some small effort to try to stave off a few support cases, it's important to touch on the fact that with the latest incarnation of FME, one of the byproducts of the passage of time is that the landscape of our computer architecture is such that we're starting to wave goodbye to 32-bit operating systems and the associated applications. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have spotted that with FME 2022, there is no option to download a 32-bit installer anymore. And that's because the 32-bit code base has been retired with this release. Now, for many of you already on 64-bit versions of Windows, or where you don't need FME to interact with 32-bit applications like, say, ArcGIS Desktop or older versions of MapInfo Professional, or perhaps, say, a 32-bit Oracle client that you've got locally on your machine, you won't have an issue. But if you're still using 32-bit FME for a specific reason, then unless we can help you come up with a way around that requirement, you might, at least for the short term, not be able to make a super quick jump to the latest version of FME. That said, it's really important to note that there's nothing stopping you from having an older version of FME installed on a machine with a newer version side by side. And you can have the different application bit versions installed together. So there's often options to consider. Now, if you think that this change might affect you and you want to talk about it in a little bit more detail, then just drop us a support case if you're already a customer of ours. And that's on support@onespatial.com. If you're not already a customer, just mail us at fme@onespatial.com and we'll see if we can help you come up with a way forward. Now the move away from 32-bit for FME also has implications for some of the format support, because some of you will already be aware of this, but not all formats are supported on all of the platforms that FME can be installed on. You can look at that if you go to SAFE's format platform page on their website. Here, when you look at do a search for Microsoft Access, you can see that the traditional Microsoft format at the bottom can't be used on the Linux or Mac operating systems because the libraries can't be installed on those platforms. But there is a workaround, because SAFE have provided support to use the Java JDBC driver that means that you can still produce access databases on those operating systems if you want to. You just can't use the official Microsoft reader writer as you can on the two Windows operating systems. That platforms page is just in the chat message there for you. It's not as easy to find as the standard formats page, so we've pushed out the link there for that page. And the same is true for personal geodatabase. Here you can see ESRI's official format shown in the 64-bit deployment of FME 2021. You can see on my machine here with FME 2021, I've got two problems. First, I don't have ESRI installed or licensed on my machine. And secondly, personal geodatabase isn't supported in a 64-bit deployment of FME. So effectively with FME 2021, I've got quite a few things I've got to go and sort out. I've got to make sure that I'm using a 32-bit installer for FME, and I've got to go and get a license and an installation of ESRI to be able to have access to that format. That's what you see when a format is grayed out. It means that it's possible to work with that format if you satisfy the requirements that are highlighted. What you can see here, though, now, and you can also see the statements at the bottom of the screen that show you the updates that have happened from the changelog file. Now in FME 2022, if you look in that changelog, you can see that the official ESRI format using ESRI's libraries is formally removed completely from FME. that means that if for some reason you need to keep using it, at least for now, you'll need to retain a build of FME 2021 or earlier, which, as I mentioned earlier, is allowed and can be dual run on the same machine if you're on a current maintenance agreement. But in the same release notes, you can also see that SAFE have also added a new format, and that's a reader for personal geodatabase. So we might have lost a writer in FME 2022, but because the format support is built on the open source GDAL libraries, so that's the open source, there's two sets of open source libraries, GDAL and OGR. The GDAL libraries means that we now don't have to worry about any installed ESRI dependencies or indeed an ESRI license. We can work with it with that format now without those dependencies on our machine. So I guess all I wanted to leave you with was the message that FME Desktop is supported to be deployed on different platforms, but the capabilities of that installation of FME might be subtly different depending on the platform that you've deployed it on. So I just wanted to, it's a reasonably complicated topic, and it's often very unique to your own specific requirements, but I'm think it's probably time to back away from that now. And again, I'm going to suggest that you email us with your specific questions if you want to dig any deeper into your specifics around support for 32-bit or 64-bit FME in your environment. For number 4, again, we're slipping back into some much more traditional changes, not a new transformer as such, but a complete makeover for an old favorite. The Clipper transformer has been around for as long as I can remember, and it's such a fundamental tool in FME. It's commonly used to enable things like clip, zip, and ship web services, where an organization provides say a web service to supply data cutouts of specific coverages of their data. The Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, for example, they've got a publicly accessible data download website to access data such as land cover boundaries. And it's underpinned by FME Server running a workspace that contains a Clipper. The Clipper transformer has a couple of input ports, and it's designed to receive some data that covers, say, an area like a county, and then you can send one or more clipping boundaries into the Clipper port and use them to cookie cut out just the local data that falls inside that clipping polygon. And it's very specific to sort of hard clipping or selecting that data that covers that area. And it's really useful for sort of supplying data maybe to internal teams who need a specific snippet of multiple layers of content in a really dedicated area. It's also pretty flexible. You can use it to clip 2D data and 3D data. It'll clip raster, so you can clip out the coverage of multiple raster tiles that you're interested in. You can clip vector data equally as well. And if you take a look in the changelog in FME 2022 and hunt for the word clipper, you'll find 66 entries for amendments and incremental updates that have been added. For example, in the latest version, we can now control what happens when more than one clipping boundary is supplied to clip our data, and there are overlaps between them, something we couldn't do before. We've also got improved rejection support so that we can reject data that isn't fit to perform a clip operation. We've got an additional set of interpolation rules so that we can better handle clipping in 3 dimensions. So if you've got a workspace that you use regularly and it contains a clipper, and any of these new features might give you what you need, then just open the workspace in FME 2022 and right-click on your clipper and click Upgrade to see what the differences are, so that you can decide whether upgrading will help your process. I just want to show you how those differences manifest themselves. This is FME 2022, and I've got a clipper transformer that I have opened up in an old version of FME, and I've copied it into FME 2022. And then if I just delete this one here and go and search for a clipper, you can see that when I add the clipper in the new version of FME, you can see that it's very slightly different. It's got an additional port called remnants for a start. Now what that means is that this one here shows me that it is upgradable. It shows me that it's Clipper version 13. The latest version is 14. If I right click in this upgradable transformers section, I can show the changes, and I can pop up a little change dialog to give me that detail, which is hiding off screen. Did I manage to do it? There it is. Okay, and you can see that we've got here, come on, there we go, bring it in front. You can see here that there's things like improved solid clipping support, improved rejection support. When you've decided that the things that are in that update are worth you upgrading for, if you right click on the transformer, you can choose upgrade, and then there's a warning to suggest, you know, do you really want to do it? You don't have to upgrade all transformers. It's just that if you want to get the new features of that particular transformer, it's necessary to upgrade it. And this dialog then gives you the view of what it looked like and what it could do and what it is able to do now in the new version. Okay. If you continue through and click OK, then it will be upgraded and it will get the new features, and you'll see that the dialog box now has been updated. If I just undo the steps of upgrade there, just go back to the previous version, that's what the original dialog box looks like, and this is what the more recent dialog in FME 22 looks like. So just wanted to cover the upgrading of transformers. It's been possible to do, and version control has been there for a long time in transformers. But in the FME 2022 release, you're going to see brand new transformers, but you will also see quite a lot of transformers that have got new capabilities. If you go and have a look at this URL here, for those of you that are plugged into social media, you might have seen recently that Mark Ireland from Safe Software, who's also known incidentally as the FME Evangelist, he recently ran a competition to find the FME users most loved FME transformer. The competition was run on a platform called Common Ninja, and although voting has finished, if you want to go and dig into what happened and why, you can take a look at the site here using the short URL. It's bit.ly/FAV_transformer. Okay, and that will, it's just a short URL. You'll see, unfortunately, the clipper didn't get past round 2. So it started off head to head with the aggregator, and it sort of monumentally lost to the feature writer. But it's a bit of fun, but it's interesting. These kind of polls draw your attention to transformers that people use and love and get value from. They aren't necessarily the most used, but they are ones that perhaps will help you go and discover a new capability that you hadn't tripped up on previously. So go and have a look at that site. It's a bit of fun, and it'll give you a bit of extra detail about perhaps some new transformers. Anyway, finally, we're at our 5th hot feature, and just before I get into it, I need to give you a brief overview of what an FME package is. Packages can be found on SAFE's community sharing site. That's hub.safe.com, and you can filter on them. You can also access them directly from FME Workbench by searching, for example, in the Quick Add dialog box. Here, packages feature often as things that look like a transformer, but they have a small box icon next to them indicating that they're in the, well, they're stored on the internet, and they're stored as a package. So that's this tiny little box here that you can see just on the slide there. Now, packages exist for one specific reason. In IT, things change frequently, and change can mean that you might have to upgrade your software to be able to continue doing your job, because so many of the formats and tools that we like to connect to with FME are external services like, say, SharePoint or ArcGIS Online, and many of the email services that we use like Gmail and Office 365. A package is a bundle of components that have been packaged up into a container that can be versioned and stored on the internet in the hub portal. And when a change is made, like say the authentication method changes for how we access ArcGIS Online, we don't have to upgrade all our local installations of FME Desktop if you've got a few of them in your business. We just have to download and update the FME installation with the latest available package for that tool. Packages can contain readers, writers, transformers, web connections, Python code, and other dependencies that SAFE can update, and this then keeps us working with the minimum amount of disruption. Packages are a real benefit that we were given with the release of FME 2019 a few years ago. And every now and again, an older transformer that is a standard transformer gets removed from the standard FME code base and it gets ported to become a package. And it's available for you to download it from hub.safe.com. And it's the reason it's done is because it's beginning to have capabilities or add in some functionality that changes frequently or is the result of an external dependency of some form. And so to the point really of this explanation ramp around packages, the geocoder transformer is now a package in FME 2022. So it's contained in a package. It was a standard transformer, and now if you want it, you need to sort of download it so that you've got that initial download of that tool. And whilst we don't get any more geocoding services added to the tool, what we do get is increased reliability and surety that if any of the slowly expanding number of external geocoding services that it supports have to change or adapt in the future, you can now be much more confident that you're only a small download away from getting up and running with your geocoding workflow again. Now that all of the external dependencies are bundled into that FME package. I've also seen, we've had a chat message that Rebecca's just sent to me. It's around the hub. So I'm just going to go over to the hub.safe.com because the message is that sometimes it's difficult to download items from the hub. And I just want to show you, there's a couple of reasons why you might have a problem. One of them is that in order to find a package, so you can see here I've got the NLP classifier and NLP trainer. When I go and click on a package, it needs to go to the internet to download that package, which means that your machine, your instance of FME, has got to be able to see the internet. So you can see it's going and grabbing that now. Now, if you ever have a problem with that, the thing to do is to probably talk to your IT team, because under the tools drop-down menu, when this has grabbed the package, under the tools drop-down menu, you'll notice that there's an FME options page, and under there's a section for proxies. You may need to set up a proxy connection to the internet to be able to get access directly from Workbench to the hub. So that's got that transformer now. If I go to tools and FME options and show you what I'm talking about, it's this page here, the network proxy page. So that generally in support, we find that the default when you install FME is no proxy. If you set it to use system proxy, that generally solves about 90% of internet connectivity challenges. There's a chance you have to plug in some extra credentials, but you'll get those from your IT team. And this is where you'll see the packages, where they're stored in this little section. So you see I've got one to connect to SharePoint. There's the geocoder. And there's the natural language processing transformer and all the different components that are bundled up in that package that I can download. There is one other reason why you might find it difficult to grab a package, and that's package versioning. So if I go to the emailer package, you can see that over here I can download it, but there are some different versions. Okay, and each version has got a relationship to a version of FME. So you can see that we've got a build requirement. So if you have a problem where you can't get a package directly from Workbench, it probably means that the package isn't supported in the latest version of the package isn't supported in the version of FME that you're using. So in order to deal with that, just come to the hub page, go and choose the version that suits you, and then you can download it from here and then just double click it and install it. Okay, so it's pretty quick to do. So there we go. That's it for today's session. We hope you enjoyed our 5 hot features in FME 2022 webinar. If you want to catch any of the other webinars in the series or come and join us on any of our online training classes, you can find out more details on the onespatial.com/training or events, or historic sessions are recorded and accessible on our on-demand page as well. And for anything else, do please contact us at fme@onespatial.com and we'll see if we can help. Although if you're already one of our maintenance customers, then your direct line to our FME experts is support@onespatial.com. And all that leaves me to say really is don't forget to sign up for one of our FME World Tour events. We've got 4 free events in London, Cardiff, Leeds and Glasgow in that order in May, where we'll entertain you, teach you and even feed you. And you'll also get to collaborate with your local FME community. Come and see us and let's help each other understand how to make better data-driven decisions. Thanks very much, and we'll see you in the next one.